Hello dear student. So this is our video on Java series, and in this video we are going to cover classes, objects and methods in Java, and it is basically useful for ISC classes 11 and 12 as well as ICSE 9 and 10. So let's begin. Now, first of all, we'll try to know what is class in Java. So basically, classes provides a convenient method for packing together a group of logically related data items and functions that work on them. In Java, data items are called fields and the functions are called methods. So as we know, class is simply a container which contain data items. Generally, these are also called data members, and basically these are variables and methods. Okay, these are basically called variables and methods, and in C++ methods are also called functions. So basically class is simply a container, and at the same time we know that a class is also called a user defined data type. We know about the data types, some are primitive data types, but class is also a data type, but it is basically a user defined data type because class is made by the user. Although there are predefined classes available in Java, but normally for making any program we need to make a class, and later we can instantiate a class to create an object. So that is why class is called user defined data type. Although we will talk about instantiation of class a bit later in the same slide in this video. Now, a class is a user defined data type with a template that serves to define its properties. Once the class type has been defined, we can create variables. Okay, once the class has been made, now we can create the variables of this class type because class is a data type. And that type using declaration that is similar to the basic declaration. So similarly, the way we declare a method or a variable, on the same line we declare and define any class type variable, and these class type variable are also called objects. So as we can see here in Java, these variables are termed as instances of classes, which are basically nothing but objects. So by using primitive data type, we create some variables which are called primitive type variables, but at the same time when we instantiate a class, we create instance of a class, we create objects. So with this point we come to know that there is hardly any big difference between any objects and variables. Basically objects are also variable, but they are of class type. That is why they are also called instance of a classes. All right, so I hope that you are getting it. Now moving to the next slide. Now the basic form of a class or a definition of a class is simply class with the class name. You can define any particular name, you can use any particular name, but make sure that it should not be any keyword. Then curly bracket open and then curly bracket close. Whatever we put inside this is called the body of a class, and inside the body what we do, we declare some variables, at the same time we declare and define some methods also. So basically as we know, a class contains variables and methods. So before using them we need to declare them and then define them. So basically within a class we have variables and methods, and then we declare them and then we define them, and then later we manipulate on them. Alright, so this is the basic structure of a class. Now moving to the next slide. Now adding variable. Once we have created a class, now we need to add some variables in it. So basically data is encapsulated in a class, as we know, within that curly bracket by placing data fields inside the body of a class definition. Now this data fields can be variables and method, as we have seen in the previous slide. These variables are called instance variables. They are created whenever an object of class is instantiated. So as we can see with this help of this example, we have a class called, let's say, rectangle, and within this curly bracket, within the body of a class, I have declared two variable with the name length and width of type integer. That's all. So what we have a class called rectangle. It can be any other class or whatever you name it. And within the body of a class, I have here two variables with the name length and width, and both of integer type. You can have any other type depending upon the need. Or in one line also we can declare them straight away as int length comma width. Because both are of integer type, we can declare in the same line using comma. But remember, ends with semicolon. Alright. So this is how we can add variables in our class. Now, how to add methods? A class with only data fields variables has actually no life. Means if I have a class with only variables, it won't do anything. The objects created by such a class cannot respond to any messages. We must therefore add methods for manipulating these data, basically what variables. These methods are declared inside the body of the class. So, if I have a program or a class with only variables, that is not going to do anything. So, to manipulate on these variables, we need to have methods. We need to have methods. So, variables which simply hold the values, whereas methods which act upon those values or and then give us the result. So, this is the syntax of a method where we will see the type, that means the what type of value it is going to return, and then the method name. Again, it is of your choice. You can give any particular name, and then remember there will be a parenthesis or a bracket open and close, and within this we will have parameter list. We can pass any number of parameter of any type depending again of requirement. Now, like a class, we'll have a method with the curly bracket open and close. That is, within this we'll have a method body. So this is the basic structure of a method with its return type, then its name, then within bracket if needed list of parameters with their types, and within the body means curly bracket open and close we'll have method body, means where we will actually act upon those variables, where we will manipulate them to get the result. So this is all about methods. We can have any number of methods depending again upon our need. Now this method has basically four parts. Firstly, the name of the method. As you can see here, it is get data is the name. You can name any other. Then the type of the value the method returns. In this case, it is void. Void keyword we use when method does not return any value. But if it return any value, you need to write its return type. Can be int, float, double, char, boolean, depend upon how you are working on it. You can have any other return type. But if it is not returning any value, there may be a case, then you have to use keyword called void. Then a list of parameters. Here is the list of parameters. In this case, I have two parameters with the name x and y, and both are again of integer type separated by comma. So you can have any number of parameters. You can have single parameter or the two or the three or four or of different types, depending again according to the need and the situation. Alright, then finally comes to the body of a method, that means within curly bracket open and close, and in this we are simply assigning the value of x which come from this parameter to length variable, and y we are assigning to width. Okay, so whatever you wish to do inside the method you can do depending again of need and the requirement. So this is all about method and how to define, declare them. Now going to the next, creating objects. Now finally within a class we have created variables and methods and we have defined them also. Now how to use them? To use them we need to create objects of that particular class. Please remember, we need to create objects of that particular class. So creating an object is also referred as instantiating an object. So this is another name of creating an object, as we can say instantiating an object. Objects in Java are created using the new operator. This also need to be noted. The new operator is must because it provides space to the newly created object. The new operator creates an object of the specified class and then return a reference to the object. So in this case, we can see an example. Let's say I have a class called rectangle, and then after declaration, I have created an object called rect. So here, rect is a variable of rectangle type, or you can say rectangle is a class. So rect is an object of rectangle type, and this is simply a declaration. Declaration means it has just been declared, it has not been actually created. So it won't occupy any space till this point. Now, in the second line, we are actually creating it by using the keyword called new. So, rect equals to new, then rectangle with bracket open and close. So, this is a constructor. Although we will discuss about constructor in the coming videos. So, what is happening using this keyword? Actually, it is allocating the space in the computer memory for this object, which will occupy that space. So this is called instantiation of an object. So these are the two different steps. One is called declaration and the second one is instantiation. This is the way how we can create an object of a particular class, and in this case class is rectangle whereas rect is an object of class rectangle. But normally what we do, we club these two statements together. So a general statement would be rectangle rect equals to new rectangle, and this is the common statement which we often use. So in this case, rectangle is a class, rect is an object, where new is an operator to allocate space, and rectangle is our, with bracket open and close, is our constructor. So this is the way how we can create an object, and then later this object will be used to invoke member of this particular class. So I hope that you must have got some idea about classes, variables, methods and objects. So this is all about this video. Thank you very much.